always have to make sure we're in tune.
Well, and you are very good at that. But what's so funny is, and hi, I love you. It's so good to see you. Welcome back to Life in the New Normal podcast, y'all. Our intuitive life coach, Wayne, has done it again, y'all. She has channeled what I'm fucking wearing. And the funny thing is, I love that necklace. That is beautiful.
Thank you.
Is that new?
Uh-huh.
So pretty.
Cool.
Yes, and I was looking for a big, pretty necklace to wear, but they're all in storage. So
I wore it for you.
Thank you.
Do you see how I was thinking ahead? So it's kind of like you're looking in the mirror going, I could have done that.
Kind of like I'm looking in the mirror feeling disturbed. I'm just kidding. Anyway, it's so nice to see you. It's been a minute.
See you too. Oh, girl.
You were sweltering away in the heat of...
You have no idea what I came home today. No. Just listen to what I came home to. So after the 2 weeks of being in Rome with
in the heat.
No air condition, in the heat, and the hottest times of the world, right?
Oh, my God.
I come home, and I'm so excited to nap, and I did, and it was amazing because I just couldn't deal. It seems the power blew, because, in Italy, a lot of the power, but it seems mine didn't just blow 2 days ago. It seems it blew, weeks ago, because everything in the refrigerator and the freezer is molded.
What?
I can't. I walked in the kitchen and I saw the whole, and I was like, well, I don't care about nothing to eat. Everything in there I have to throw away now.
Well, yeah, that sucks.
I know, all those condiments and all those things you find that are hard to find, and then the freezer outside. I can't even deal with it today, so I just closed the door and I was just, it's okay though.
La, 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 la.
La, 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 la. Turn on the air. La, 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 la.
Well, Dena, that is a great segue into our topic today.
Oh, amazing.
And I'll tell you why in a second. So today's topic, y'all, is the 5 steps to being in alignment. So, yay, I know. And I want to ask you exactly. We're going deep, y'all, but we're still gonna keep it shallow as best we can. What does being in alignment mean to you?
Ooh, being in alignment to me means...
And why is it important?
Well, I think what it means to me is kind of like when the mind, body, and soul are all connected to where it's like bobbing and weaving, where you don't question why you're doing things, but you just keep going with the flow of the, vibration.
Yes.
And I think it's important is because when we get out of alignment, that's where we will make decisions out of fear, anger, frustration. And when you're in alignment, you know that it's just temporary and it's not really gonna. So I can say that my therapist has always taught me that there isn't anything you can't do as long as you know it's not forever. So when I was in that heat, I remembered going, okay, this is just 2 weeks. Yes, it's 108 and it sucks and no air, but I was able to get through it, right? Without losing my cool, without getting pissed, without getting agitated. And then what I learned is around other people or different friends, I will make sacrifices that aren't in line with my alignment to do what they want, but then I'm the one who suffers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally.
And so I think it's important it doesn't mean that you can't do things that you don't want to do, but just check with your body first to make sure it's all aligned if it's something, you even should do.
Right. So, and I think you coming home to your fridge full of moldy food and not getting upset about it is a perfect example of remembering that and keeping your cool and keeping your peace, not letting yourself get all upset, because that just leads to a domino effect of other things going wrong in our day, right?
Well, and then I went and checked the mail and I got this water bill that was $330, which is insane because, and then it just kept,
okay, never mind.
You know what? No, and I just kept going like this. You know what? We just need to take a nap. And we will figure all this out after, because I wasn't in the headspace. I wasn't in the mental. I didn't have the bandwidth. I wasn't about to cry. I wasn't about to get mad. Who are you going to get mad at? Who are you going to cry with? You know what I mean? There's nothing anyone can do about it except me. I'm going to have to clean that out. I get to approach it in the way that I want. And then I start going, okay, maybe this is the universe telling me I don't need that processed condiments anymore.
There
And
you
maybe the
go.
universe, you see, so then we can turn it into something if we want to. And so I could have gone either way with that. I could have gone like, oh man, damn it. Ugh. Or I could have gone, okay, reset button, here we go. Like time to reset and get it all cleaned out and up my eating game.
Yes, I love that actually,
Yeah.
and we're in the process of doing that on Life in the New Normal Cafe, LITNN Cafe. Y'all check it
Mm-hmm.
out. We have silly, ridiculous recipes for you to learn how to eat healthier with easy recipes.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for that example, Dena. That's perfect
Yep.
because step one, and y'all, I got all these from Abraham Hicks. I did not make these up out of my brain. These are steps that I have listened to, and not to say that I've learned them all or have mastered them all by any means, but they're good reminders and it's a good practice, I find. So, step one
Yes.
is life causes you to ask for more by giving you contrast. So, contrast
Mm.
meaning any negative experience, basically. And I find
Mm-hmm.
that these negative experiences are the little things like what Dena just mentioned. Like something you're completely not expecting goes wrong in your day that's like, shit, now I have to deal with that. Or it could be, your spouse, your partner, whatever, isn't cleaning to the level that you want. And you've told them a million times and you walk in the room and you notice, it's those little moments that throw you off real fast. It could be
Mm-hmm.
bigger things too, but I find that daily it's the little things that just,
Mm-hmm.
the heat, any of it could be like,
Oh.
why am I dealing with this? So, step one, contrast causes you to ask for more. That is not our work to do. That is just for you to recognize that it's happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
Step two is source answers. So, God, the universe, source, whoever
Mm-hmm.
you speak to and believe in that's a higher energy going on here that helps us all, answers that. So, I don't know about you, Dena, but I think this is a pretty cool step because for her to have said that is like, I love that. We don't have to do anything. That's what that means to
Yeah.
me. It's not our job. This is not our work. Source answers. Now, it may take a while for us to see what the result of that answer is, but this is part of the trust, part of the
Process.
learning the
Yes.
process, right?
And with that, I wanted to say is that sometimes impulsively we want to fix it right now, right? So we
Yes.
may miss the answer, right? Because if we're in a rush or we're not taking our time and waiting for source or whatever it may be, or how everyone's belief, instead of automatically go on impulse and reactive or
Mm-hmm.
aggressive or whatever, because that's what we used to do, right? And so I'll give an example. This morning, I couldn't find my keys, and I was like, "Please, no, please, God,
Girl,
no!"
you was a
Like,
mess.
girl, and I had it was 7:30 a.m. And I was like,
Mm.
I know it's the child that's staying at the house, right? And
Oh,
so, and then so he was sleeping, and I knew I had to be patient, and I knew I couldn't wake up a child out of the sleep, going, "Where are my darn keys?" Because he's 4.5, right?
yeah.
And I let his mom ask, and when I just with a big smile, when he could see that there was no fear, he
Mm-hmm.
said where the keys were.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
So I
Because otherwise
learned
he'd have thought he was in
because
trouble, right?
yes, and wouldn't have said anything.
Smart kid.
So, yeah, but I had to wait, and
Yes.
I had to literally, in my head, I'm like, why are you going through every horrible scenario if it hasn't even happened yet, and you don't
Yeah.
even know if your keys are gone?
Yeah.
But I'm like, so stop it. And then
Right.
I had to be patient for 30 minutes and wait for her to graciously wake him up, and you know what I mean. So
Before you hit the road to come home. Yeah.
yes, or even if I was gonna be able to.
Right.
So
Exactly.
in my head, I'm like,
Ooh.
oh my God. And I'm already picturing in my head, like, no
Heat,
air and
heat.
then mom.
Oh my
Yeah.
God. Yeah. I don't know how they live in it all the time. Like whew,
Yeah.
that's
Well,
some
it's only three
work.
months out of the year, but this summer's been hot.
Yeah, it's a lot. It's a
Yeah.
lot. So that brings us to step three, which is align with the vibration of your desire. So this means a few things to me
Mm.
too, right? So it's what you just said.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of being triggered, instead of reacting, this is our work. This is the step where we start doing the work. As opposed to being triggered in the past, this is where maybe now I learn to appreciate what's happening, which is where that takes some work. So let's say it's
Uh,
somebody, let's use this as an example. It's somebody that's done something to you that's hurt your feelings or didn't clean or whatever it is, you know. Instead of focusing on that, appreciate all the good things about them. And Abraham Hicks says to
Oh.
literally make lists of appreciation about this
Hmm.
person that you have a problem with, which I thought
Hmm.
was beautiful and so cool. And
Really
it
beautiful. Well,
works. I've
and
been
it's
doing it, y'all.
really well, and it's really what an acceleration of growth, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because when it's like instead of saying what's wrong with things, we say what's right with things, and then when we start to say what's right with something, you automatically get a smile on your face. So it does. It literally, it's
Yeah.
like it enters your soul, and your body starts feeling the goodness.
Right. So, what
Yeah.
happens on an energetic chemical level, whatever you want to call it, is that these negative things that are happening. Instead of reacting this way, your mind learns not to go to a dark place about it, to a bad place about it.
Wow.
Like the more you train your brain, and that's why we call it the work. The more you train your brain to think positively in these situations, the less it bothers you, and then the woo woo starts to happen, which is where better things literally do start to happen. I mean, do you
Hmm.
find that, Dina? I find that that's the
Oh,
case, and it freaks me out, but it's
so much the
great.
case. Well, and it's so much the case to where sometimes it feels like it's scary. Like this can't be real. And I'm not saying it's easy by any feat, but it's like all it takes is a mind shift. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes that's really all it does take. And so on this trip that I was on and being with other people and having to visit who I used to have to be was uncomfortable for me
Yeah.
because some people may wait to meet you there,
What do you
right?
mean
And
who
then
you used to be?
who I used to be. So meaning like if I haven't seen someone in 5 years in person, they're expecting that person they saw me last, like, and so it's like it wasn't. I was making sure I wasn't focusing on their reactions or blaming, like they still think I'm who I used to be. No, no, no. What can I do now
Hmm.
to show them that I have shifted without having to use all the energy and justify and excuse? So if I
Mm-hmm.
consistently keep being who I am now, they will see it.
Right. And
When
that's
before I would have been uncomfortable and been like, oh my God, they just still want me to be who I used to be, and blah, 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 blah. And so energetically it just made me do the work in my head, because I can't convince them to see or not see what they want to see.
right.
Doesn't matter in any situation.
Yeah.
So again, it's that same thing of it really, it's doing the work. We all get to do our own work, and it really is up to us here on the way we take
Correct.
it or shift it.
Because there's not a damn thing you can do or I can do. So I give you a lot of credit because I mean, I'm in those situations all the time now that we've been doing this work and go back and
Mm-hmm.
people still want me to drink with them or trust me, I want to drink with them sometimes, you know.
Oh
But I
yeah.
know the difference in the way I feel now. I know the difference in the mindset that I have now, the clarity, all of it. I don't want to mess that up. I don't want to mess up the path
Mm-hmm.
I'm on. So, but it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah.
So I give you credit.
No, thank you. And it's hard. Well, it's hard until it isn't, right? Because if you before you prematurely do the work, and then as you start doing the work, you become more comfortable with who you are, and hopefully no one is going to kick you off that balance beam, right? And then it's challenging
Easier
to
said than done.
not, yeah, and it's challenging to not try to go back or go forward and not wobble completely
Right.
and then get resentful, or go back to the default button, which is just easier just to get me through the weekend.
Right. I'm glad you
You
used
know
the
what I
word
mean?
wobble because when I think of being in alignment, it's the same thing as like getting your tires aligned on your car, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're just smooth sailing as opposed to the
Yeah.
wobble you had before. And anytime someone comes at you with a trigger, and says something that used to just get your goat,
Mm-hmm.
that's where that wobble comes in. And you have to sort of work to get back on and move forward a bit more smoothly. But it's work.
Which I just thought of something when you said the word trigger. When we're triggered, this is a question I'd like to ask people because it just came up in my head. Are we triggered that that person is reminding us of who we used to be?
For sure.
Right?
I think
And
so.
maybe, but also I know triggers is people may say things and trigger us by
Mm-hmm.
their behavior, right? But then
Mm-hmm.
I just thought about it. I was being triggered by, they were bringing up who I used to be, not in a
Right.
negative way, and I was like, oh, this is so uncomfortable, but it had nothing to do with them.
And that's the hard part, right? Because you
Yes.
start that conversation in your own brain, you're already getting out ahead of it in a negative way, waiting
Uh-huh.
for it almost, or it happens. Maybe you're not waiting for it. Maybe it happens, but that's instantly where our brain goes to. And maybe there's a little truth to that in what they're saying too.
Yeah.
But also, I've watched you in certain situations before, even with me saying things, and the way you're so gracious most of the time,
Mm-hmm.
handling these things, it really is cool to watch, and I've learned from
Thank
you
you.
watching you in those
Thank
situations of
you.
just, oh well, shrugging it off, moving on. And it's,
Sometimes I don't know where that comes from. And I said to my therapist, I'm like, I don't understand. He goes, well, it seems like you're learning how to manage your stress better.
yeah,
And I said, that is that what that is? Because
right.
I've always had debilitating anxieties or whatever, and then I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, la 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 la. It's not even a survival tool. It's just really who I am, and so
Mm-hmm.
it becomes more easy, And then when people
Absolutely.
understand it, like someone had said, so you really just really do, you want to be helpful, and you're really just this sweet. And I think that some people just don't get it, or they
Mm-hmm.
think it might be something, but it's just since I've been able to be self-diagnosed with autism and everything, and I'm learning how to organically be who I am, I just really am sweet natured by, that's
Mm-hmm.
just who I've always been. And so
Mm-hmm.
to be able to be it without all the defenses up and not all the walls up, and to just be sweet, and if someone doesn't want it, I pull it back. And if I
Mm-hmm.
don't justify it, I don't cry, I don't, now I'm just, so thank you, that's really nice to be seen, so thank you so
Yeah,
much. Yeah, I like that.
absolutely. And I think people, here's the thing, and this is part of the reason why I was so curious about these 5 steps to alignment and like what in the heck and why is this important? You see the people in the world who are always seem to be negative. They're always having a bad day. Things never go their way. They can't understand why that person, always gets the lucky breaks. And then you see the people over here who everything always goes their way, seemingly, as far as we know,
Mm-hmm.
right? They're always happy. Things, they just are able to. And I used to think, and I'm sure a lot of us used to think, that that person's just wired differently. Like they must have been born that way. Like I wasn't born
Uh-huh.
that way. That's not how I'm built. No, that is not the case. And when I
Mm-hmm.
learned that it literally is just a mindset shift, I was like, wait, what? I can do this? And I mean, look, I'm a
I mean,
slow learner, y'all. It only took till today years old,
no, I'm
which
just
is so
thinking of my
sad.
unicorn,
Oh,
right? We
yeah,
will always use
totally.
her as an example.
Yeah,
She is somebody who, we've had her on this podcast before, Cameron Miller, who has
she's so
such a great
beautiful.
mindset that
Mm-hmm.
even when she broke the ACL and they wanted to
Yes.
bandage it up, and then she's like, no, my body is, and we're not saying anyone else should do this, but
We are
she's
not
like, my
doctors.
body will, yes, my body will heal itself. I will do this, I will do that. And then it completely healed itself, and she sent the proof.
Yeah.
And I mean, you and I were both like, she crazy, but it's
Mm.
the mindset, right? You
No, I
can't
was
argue
so
with the
proud of her.
mindset.
I was like, I want to see
Mm-hmm.
if this works because she is so positive all the time and
Mm-hmm.
trusts so much all the time. I was like, you know what? If anybody gonna heal that bone on her, it's gonna be her. I mean,
Yep.
it was pretty cool. So,
It will, and when you trust, you make manifesting or easy life, or that it seems, second nature. It's not that stuff doesn't happen to her. It's the way she navigates through the stuff happening to her. She
yes.
doesn't let it catch
Uh
and
huh.
take a hold of her,
Uh
right? She
huh.
doesn't let it become her narrative.
Yes.
They're isolated incidents. She keeps them isolated so that they don't contaminate the rest of everything else. Do you see?
Yes.
Like mentally.
Yes, because the minute you get thrown off, let's say you were about to go do something really great in your day, and the minute you get thrown off with something negative, then what happens? You
The
don't
rest of your
you
day
you don't
gets
enjoy your
negative.
experience in the same
Mm-mm.
way. You talk about it, you perpetuate that negative energy. It stays in your it's like it affects
Mm-hmm.
everything for the rest of the day or week or month or however long you continue to spew and talk about it. And
Mm-hmm.
then you're passing it on to other people and then they don't feel as good and it's like,
And
no,
then
let's
they
work
pass
on
it on to
breaking that.
other people, and
Yeah.
then other people go, "Oh, that poor Dena, did you hear? Did it?" And it has
Yeah.
nothing. It's a game of telephone. It's
Right.
lost its right energy, but now you have all that energy coming at you.
Yeah.
Because so and so said, and this one said, and that one said, so it's vibrationally. So isn't it better for the good of you and your healing journey, or your, balance beam and everything, to not keep it perpetuating? So I always say pick one person to tell, and the one person isn't going to hang up and go tell a bunch of people.
Right.
And it's not because we don't trust them. It's more so energetically. That's because they have this similar line of thinking.
Don't tell the town crier, y'all.
There we go.
You all know those people.
Yes. Yes.
So, but think about what that does energetically in your town, in the world. Like if everybody started just practicing this, and all we were doing was stopping that negativity where it is, and that's part of the work that's happening right now. I feel like part of what we've been woken up to. Again, hate to use that term because people are so sensitive to it, but it's true.
Yeah.
It'd be very cool. So anyway, step 3 was align with the vibration of your desire. So now Abraham Hicks put this in a way that for some reason clicked in my lesbianic brain. She talks about when you have these desires that you want to manifest, and you're like these big things that like, I can't wait for this career to happen. I can't wait to have a girlfriend that's like XYZ. I really want a new car that looks like this, or whatever it is. How you have to fill in your grid. And I was like, fill in your grid. But when she said it that way, it kind of clicked to me. And it's like all these little things that you do to push the negativity away and refocus and stay positive, help you align and fill in your grid so that these things that are waiting to come to you, because source has already answered, it's like that's part of the way that we manifest the good things in life. And I find that things that I'm thinking about that I want to have happen, that I don't even give too much energy to it, they just all of a sudden, really, it feels magically happen. And I'm like, oh, but I'm connecting the dots now with that. I've been meditating, I've been practicing the positivity, and now I'm like, God, doors are opening in ways that I didn't even see coming. It's just really neat. My brother, Joe, thank you. I had been looking for literally 2 months to get somebody to replace this dang ceiling fan in here, y'all, that wasn't working properly. And I could not find anybody. All the contractors are booked. And all of a sudden, out of the blue, my brother's like, well, I'll do that for you. Like the second I bring it up, I didn't even ask him. But little things like that.
It came in a creative solution.
It did. It came in a creative solution that I wasn't expecting, but I went, oh my God, that's amazing. And even better than what I would have hoped for, because I'd have been paying somebody, $300 to put that in.
But see, I think a lot of the time, it was very nice. I think a lot of the time what happens is when people are trying to manifest or whatever, if it's not going to work out in the way they think it is, then they don't believe in it.
Right.
Because, well, how's that going to happen? Because I need to go, blah, blah, blah. It's like, wait, but isn't that the beauty of giving it, away and having faith is like, you don't have to worry about that. Right. It's not yours to create, to solve. Like, your job is to keep believing and keep it moving.
Right. So step 4, that brings us to, is they literally made a step for this. Practice getting really, really good at step 3. So, right. So, and I thought about this and I was like, well, okay. And she says, it is that important that you practice this. It is the work.
Can you repeat step 3 again?
Step 3 was align with the vibration of your desire. So the positivity, here's where, and she harps on this of like, write down the positive things about your electric company if your power goes out, your friend that might have hurt your feelings, your partner that doesn't clean up after themselves or whatever it is. So practice.
Doesn't appreciate. Yeah,
it's practicing appreciation and just stay in that mindset until it knocks that negativity out of your brain and you can move on with your day in the right way. So, because what happens, like we said, when you're out of alignment, then all of a sudden, all these things that you've got waiting to manifest, they just kind of get pushed aside. Those things cannot manifest, according to her, without you being in alignment in the right way, in the way that you want them to, which I was like, oh, well, that's something to think about.
That makes sense,
I'm
because
going
then you're not ready. No, but it's okay, because then that means that you're not ready if you're not in alignment to receive what is rightfully yours.
And here's the difference and why this is important too, I guess. Y'all, I know I'm going real woo-woo today, but Dena, I love going woo-woo with you and going deep on these things. But in our lives, we are taught that we have to effort, just like Dena was just saying. we're used to thinking this is the way this is going to happen. I have to make this happen. I have to push to make this happen. This process is to teach us something different of allowing, just having the desire, practicing staying positive, and allowing the universe for doing something for us that we can't do for ourselves in the same way, in a much easier fashion, might I add. And that doesn't mean doing no work and putting no energy towards these things. You do have to do that, but just trusting and then watching as the magic starts to happen.
Yes. And I will add on to this is that when the magic starts to happen, that is not the time for you to quit the meditation.
That's right.
Or for you to quit the stuff. Because a lot of people, like, they start to get momentum and then they think, okay, I did it. So now I'm manifesting. And then they think it's just going to keep happening. But you got to keep maintaining the work.
Yeah, for sure. And once you start to see this working in your life, you're going to want to keep doing the work because it really is cool. And you can feel it. Like, it's the difference of being in meditation and receiving these thoughts, like you were saying, Dena, knowing that these answers are coming to you in an inspired way versus going, is this really the right thing for me to do right now? I don't know. I'm going to try, it's just, I can't explain it, y'all. It's something you have to feel and experience, but it is very cool.
Yeah, it is pretty cool. And it's pretty cool knowing that it really is up to you. So that's kind of cool and scary. Right. Meaning you can't blame anyone but yourself if you're not doing the work.
I mean, I wish I'd learned this when I was in my 20s. I wouldn't have done it, but 30s. I wish I'd have learned this stuff a long time ago, but here we are.
Better late than never.
Better late than never. And so that brings us to step 5, which is the mastery step, the final step. And that is you appreciate the step 1 contrast as it's happening.
Oh, okay. So that I was doing that.
Yeah, you were.
I was appreciating that. Go,
so
Dena.
Proud of you.
I would thank you. I was appreciating that. Going, oh man, this stuff. Oh, okay, you can do it. It's only a certain amount of days or whatever it may be. And let me tell you, I had a lot of appreciation for myself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow.
But I
that's
mean,
pretty cool.
Really. And so what a mindset shift though, right? Think about where you are now versus maybe how you'd have handled that, I don't know, however many years ago. I know the difference
totally
in me. Or if I do wobble for a minute and go, and get upset, I bring myself back very quickly now. I do not allow myself to stay in that place. And that's when the work is happening.
Totally.
Right?
Yes.
But the mastery of this step is when she says you just start to flow. Things just start to, which is very cool. And really all it's asking us to do, y'all, is just to feel good. It's like, oh, darn, right. I just have to practice staying in a good mood. That's it.
Right. Well, then what we got to say to people who are like, but what about toxic positivity and whatever? We're not saying don't ever be sad. We're not saying, we're just saying don't simmer in your own shit for weeks at a time. Don't keep doing what you've done and keep getting everything you've always gotten and wondering why nothing ever changes. If nothing changes, nothing changes. Right.
So, and obviously I'm not talking about, that's why I said it's more about the little things for me, because big things are going to happen and they're going to be hard. You're going to have lose somebody you love, go through a hard breakup, lose your job, whatever it may be. And that is going to suck. And yes, you're right. You have to allow yourself to feel that. But Coach Dena has taught us to put a time limit on that, right? Like allow yourself to grieve. I'm going to be upset this weekend and get it out. And then I'm going to start moving towards being positive again and seeing what I can do with this.
It's important that the timer thing is so helpful because it puts it into perspective for you. Because if we allow ourselves, we will allow ourselves to go on and on as long as it also stays convenient. Oh, I can't go here because I'm still upset. Oh, I can't do that job because I'm still upset. And then it will trickle into other things if we allow it. Do you understand? So it's like, yes, someone may lose a parent or a spouse or whatever. I'm not minimizing that. But we then, because so many people go, are you sure you're ready to come back to work, or are you sure
That's the
you're
worst.
blah blah blah,
That's the
right? And
hardest.
so, well, but it's easy to then play the role they want us to play,
Right.
and then to get the benefits that we need to get, meaning I may not be ready to go to work, but it doesn't mean I have to be sitting in tears. Do you know what I
Right.
mean? But we've always been kind of told, well, you don't look sick. Well, you look
Right.
fine to me. You look like you could have gone to work today. So then we all, without realizing, tend to play the parts that we think we're supposed to play.
Yeah, yeah. And you're right.
And
It's the hardest when there's someone new to tell your story to, right? Because you keep
mm-hmm,
perpetuating. You're like, ooh, there's someone that can empathize with
mm-hmm.
me and sympathize with me. And you may need that for a minute, but be careful about that because it can take you down really quickly the way you frame that
For sure.
retelling of
And
that story, right?
yeah, and then if somebody who is like, how are you? It's been a, then sometimes we feel like we have to
It's like
then
they
fit
want you to
into
be
that thing.
sad.
I know. And sometimes and so that's why I love therapy so much, is because, listen, sometimes I get over things very quickly and sometimes I don't, but I don't want somebody who I see in my everyday life going, are you okay?
Right.
Like, I know you were upset last week, last
Yeah.
time we spoke. And it's like, oh,
Yeah.
girl, I'm so over that. Like, that was
Right.
like, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I think that that is important too for us to take accountability too, is how many times are you playing the role that you think you're supposed to in order to get the sympathy you feel like you want or deserve, or in order to get the love or the, attention that you deserved for so long, and now you're only getting it but it's in a negative way. Well, that's not the right attention
But
either.
you don't recognize that in the moment because attention is attention, right? So you're just
Mm-hmm.
and granted, these people, I'm sure they do care when they're asking this. I'm guilty of doing this as well. And you don't know
Uh-huh.
how to approach people who have been through hard things sometimes, and it's tricky. But the way you answer that question can frame that for you and for the rest of your day, possibly.
And for the rest of your months, or and for
Right.
the rest of the way, because once you get over that first hump of feeling weird, of like, no, I'm good, knowing that that may pull back all of that attention you've been getting, or all of that,
Right.
kindness you've been getting, or generosity because people felt bad for you, that also feels scary, because
Right.
we may want that, but we don't realize that that's not the way we want it. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, we want it from people organically, but we don't want to have to get it in that negative way.
And there's part of that also that really means letting go of your story. So, or
There
especially
you
if
go.
someone's passed, and you've just gotten over the loss of a loved one, the minute you start saying, I'm good, and you decide to move forward, it may feel like you're letting go of that person in a way because you're
Mm-hmm.
not perpetuating that story. But I feel like if you practice just being positive and getting through that point, then you'll be able to start talking about them again and with all the beautiful memories, and not
Yes.
focusing on the bad thing that just happened. Or at least that's what I experienced.
Mm-hmm.
But it's
Well, and
hard. It's
sometimes
hard
it's just a
work.
habit too, and it's breaking a habit,
Mhm.
right? And
Mhm.
so we will make it bigger than what it needs to be in our head. And
Yes.
so I just say, try not to think about it and just be moment by moment and get yourself through these moments. And then if you
Yes.
need to look back, then look back. But don't look back while you're doing
Right.
it.
Right.
Just
Makes
keep
sense.
looking forward and keep going forward and keep doing everything it is you need to do to get you to where you're going, because everybody else is doing what they need to do for them to get themselves where they're going.
Yeah.
And then those of us who are people pleasers or whatever it may be, we wind up sacrificing ourselves for everyone else to get what they want. And then we're like, but what about me?
Girl, yes, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. And
Yeah.
our beloved Oprah has a beautiful practice for trying to master this step right here, which is a gratitude journal. And
Uh-huh.
she apparently, from everything I've read about Oprah, I don't know this personally because she hadn't told me, but I can't wait till the day that she does. That she writes down 5 things every day at the end of her day that she was
That
grateful
she's grateful
for
for.
about the
Yeah.
day. And I was like, how beautiful. And she says, if you struggle with coming up with 5 things in your day because you've had that bad a day, you can repeat the ones from the day before, but then say why you appreciate them. So she's like, if you can't come up with anything positive to say and you're just in a foul, foul, foul mood, then, can you be grateful that you have a place to live and a roof over your head? Can you be grateful for clean water when people in parts of the world maybe can't be? Can you be grateful for working air conditioner or heat?
There we go.
Food. Do you have clothes that when you put them on make you feel confident when you step into the world, even if it's only one or two outfits? Just be grateful for anything around you that you can find. And then go into why, right? Because they make me feel good about myself, or because it nourishes my body, because it keeps me comfortable so I can sleep well, whatever it is. But the deeper you go with those things, the more, again, we're training our brain to do something different. We're used to things coming in and knocking us off of our track, and we want to train ourselves to do it differently.
Have you ever been around people who get angry when you try to put positive stuff like out there, and they
Yeah, all the
literally
time.
have, yeah, no, it's so fascinating to me though that sometimes it causes such a visceral reaction in
It does.
people. It's kind of like, listen, ow, ooh, like who hurt you, like ouch,
Yeah,
like and it's brutal, but it's like I feel for them in a way because I know what it's like to be caught up in that,
I do
right?
too.
And then
Yep, for
now I've
years.
learned, instead of being resentful of it, I'm like, oh, I get it. That is where I used to be. This is where I am now. I'm getting more perspective of how far I've come. And I also know how to support someone in that space. And that's all they're asking. It's not for my ego to respond to their response, it's for me to help somebody else the way somebody else helped me to get to where I am.
Correct. Like, we're not, I'm not saying this because I feel like I know any better than anybody else. This is just something that I heard, that I learned, that I've been
Mm-hmm.
practicing, that has made a huge difference for me. And I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to share it with y'all, and
I
Dena and
think
I
it's
talked about it and
beautiful.
wanted to share it because,
Yeah.
yes, I mean, I absolutely, I've been that person that gets caught up in that and can focus. And I mean, I used to spend every night on the phone talking about people with my best friend, and we would just sort of rehash all the negativity in our day
Yeah.
for some reason because
And can
it
you
felt like it
believe
felt good.
someone had the balls to say this to me? Or can you believe? And you
Yeah.
hear the ego in those phrases.
Well, at the time when I was doing it and she was doing it, we thought it was healing just to get it out of us.
Ah,
And
okay.
but I'm saying that's how different the mindset was, of like thinking that that was the healthy thing to do, and it's all just where you are in life. It's just the
Mm-hmm.
stages we go through. I was there for a long time, and then I learned something different, and it feels better. And that's all I can
Well,
tell y'all is you
and
start to feel better.
one little tip that I've been noticing lately for myself is that we all have an automatic narrative that we will go to if something isn't going our way or if something is going our way. And I want to say, well, is that really true? Or is that me? Is my ego? Is whatever? And instead of having opinions about it all, I just let it happen. I don't have opinion about it at all. I don't repeat it to anyone. And then what I've been saying is, if in the next morning it's still bothering me so bad and I feel like I want to say something, I will tell one person.
Mhm.
Most
Mhm.
of the times it's not there in the morning.
Right.
Like, I'm like, well, what would be the point of bringing it up now? It just doesn't make sense. Or you're over it, or you're in a different mindset, or you wake up feeling better, or whatever it may be. And so I've now put a time limit
Mhm.
on the time before I can repeat it to somebody.
Well, I think you're onto something too about taking a nap on it or going to sleep on it,
Mm-hmm.
because there's something about just letting it all go when you sleep that breaks that energy up. And you're right. You
Mm-hmm.
wake up and you're like, all right, I don't really want to start again with that, you
Yes,
know?
exactly. Totally.
So,
And that's been helpful to me. And that's been helpful to me in the moments. Or my biggest favorite one is if somebody is coming at me in a way or whatever, I excuse myself to the bathroom. It's the
right.
easiest, quickest way to change the subject. And generally, that person isn't chomping at the bit to keep going on. Usually, we all forget about what was happening before. And then
Yeah, because you were
you
in the
come out of the
restroom for
bathroom.
15 minutes pooping.
Exactly. There you go. Poop in the
Just
potty. I
you
go
took
poop in the
you took enough
potty.
time.
See?
I'm just
And
kidding.
so
No,
there, I know you are.
that's a great, you've brought that up before, and I think that's brilliant because I
Mm-hmm.
need to put that into practice more when I'm around people that
Yes.
trigger me. I'll try to stay quiet, but I think it's a kinder response to excuse yourself sometimes than
Well, and
sit there
people
and look like you're just being quiet.
can feel
Hmm.
you trying to be quiet, right? They can
Exactly. That's
feel
what I
you
mean.
not
Yeah.
wanting, to open
Yeah.
your mouth
Yeah.
and being like, oh my God, I don't want to punch this freaking person in the face,
Yeah.
right? And you're just like, so I went to the bathroom a lot in the last 2 weeks.
Did you?
Just
Very
a
active
lot.
bladder you have, yes.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
And that's okay. I'm better for it. Literally, physically, mentally, all of the above. I'm better for it because I kept saying, oh, I get it now, universe. You're just trying to show me how far I've come because then after this, I'm now graduating.
Mm-hmm.
But you see, in my beautiful brain, I made it into a positive.
Yeah.
So it's not going to happen
Yeah.
to me anymore, right? And it
Well,
won't it be in those ways. I know, but in my brain, I'm like, okay, look, I'm graduating. Kind of like when I was in the States during the pandemic and I was caught there for 4 months. I literally out loud said, oh, I get it now. This is an amount of time I'll be spending with all of these people, and because I won't be coming back for a while. And here we are 3 years later, I haven't been back to the States.
Yeah.
Right? So this kind of felt very reminiscent
Yeah.
of that. It was like, here, we're just going to pummel you with it all. It's like your graduation finals. See if you're ready for the next level. And as I navigated through it and I just breathed and I, was like, I can get through anything. I was like, I did it. And then I got home. It was like, oh, one last test question. Here's the refrigerator with the mold. And I was like, I did it again. And then I opened the bill and I was like, you know what? I just go night-night.
Well, you know what's funny about that too is that Abraham Hicks says that, once you get through your steps of contrast and you master and you do the proper steps. Oh my God.
Mm-hmm. Sorry.
Put you to night-night.
I know.
Once you master and you do the proper steps, that contrast is going to happen again. So be ready. And it's like, but that's the mastery, and then when it happens to you again. But it will be less
painful, yes.
That's right. But, rather than just going, you start to appreciate it because you learn that getting through these steps and achieving this helps the things that you want to be handed to you by the universe.
There we
That's
go.
why we learn to appreciate it. But you can't just know this unless you practice it. You can't just... I can sit here.
It's a vibrational feeling you have to feel. I can't explain to you how amazing the feeling is, and you know what it's going to feel like.
Right.
So vibrationally, I think that's where she's talking about is you yourself have to physically feel the incredible feelings of the mastery to be able to want more of that.
Yes,
and
because you see the results of it in your life. And this is the part that I can't I can sit here and explain it to y'all, but you're not going to truly understand it until you feel it in your own life, until you start doing it and feel it in your own life. So that's the part where, you either want to try this or you don't, but it's the stuff that Abraham Hicks teaches, Oprah teaches, Gabby Bernstein teaches. It's just, I've recently really started trying to practice that, and it's really fun.
Well, and it's
cool.
It's really cool because like in the beginning of this podcast, when you were so gracious with your compliments to me or whatever, when other people start noticing it, and it seems like it's all happening at once, like everyone seems to be saying it at once, but it's like, it's kind of like, oh wait, so now other people are seeing my changes too and having a positive response, and others are, and then that also feels really good and wants you to keep mastering it because you don't want to go back, right?
Yeah.
So, like I was even saying to you at the restaurant that I was at, as much as I was craving a drink in the situation, I was like, I don't want to now disappoint everyone else who's so, happy for all of my growth.
Right.
And so
yourself.
It's like, for sure. But also it was nice to have those systems in play in my head because I know myself well enough that I need some hacks there to be supportive to me in those moments.
Yeah.
Those moments are further and further in between, but it's just nice to have them, right? And so it also made me realize, too, is that when we hustle and do so many things in one day, are you doing that for you, or are you doing that of the expectation of where it is you're at or what your society expects from you or hustle culture or whatever it is? Because it's like, I notice it's a very different lifestyle, but Italy is much more slower paced, whatever. And American is like, do. And it's like, but when are you enjoying all of these things you're doing?
Yeah.
And so as much as I was seeing every people and everything, my head was just swirling, going like, oh my God, this is so much. Like in some moments, I didn't feel like I was able to be present. And then in other moments I was. But again, that's why I chose to slow down my lifestyle. Because I wanted to be present and actually be able to feel things, right?
Yeah.
And to enjoy things and all of
And
that.
to
And
allow.
I noticed that, yeah. And I noticed that too about myself. It's like, oh, this is why I like it slower. Oh, this is what, because my whole nervous system just gets all like, wait, and I'm so confused. And then I just go on autopilot, depending of the situation, right? But thankfully now my autopilot's much more healthy than it used to be. And so it's pretty interesting.
Yeah, I mean, I find that the work that we're doing now is a much better pace for me, and it's something I had to choose to step out of that old production life that I was in. That was, you know, and the difference was, and listen, I've had a busy week this week with our stuff, but the difference is it's 1 week out of, you know, how many? 20 that happens where we have more on our plate, or I have more on my plate. And that's the choice of trying to stay in alignment, letting the thoughts come, letting the inspired action come, practicing the art of allowing rather than forcing, like what you were just talking about, right?
Yeah.
So
anyway. Powerful. What a great way to ease me back into, you know, my routine and my balance. Because it's a reminder of, you know, when we go out of balance, I don't feel as good as I was when I was completely in. It doesn't mean you're never going to get out of balance. It's just the rebound needs to be quicker.
Yeah.
You know, and that's practice. What I know about myself. Yes.
It takes a lot of practice for me. Speaking for me, y'all.
I'm speaking for me. 54 years here, and I'm just telling you, it's practice.
Yes. And thank you so much for introducing me to the vegan chocolate mousse on Life in the New Normal Cafe this week. When I tell y'all I gained, I don't own a scale. I refuse to buy a scale, but clothes are not fitting me the same because I've already made that recipe twice in the full and eaten most of it. I'm like obsessed with that chocolate mousse.
It's good, right?
It is stupid good. And, you know,
it's like in my
vegan,
brain, I was
gluten-free,
like,
no refined sugar.
Right, and I was like, how can we get more protein and blah, 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 right? And so I'm just so excited. I'm so happy you like it.
I love it, but it's a problem.
Oh.
So what would you say to wrap this up is our subtle change, profound impact for this week, Coach Dena?
I would say the subtle change and the profound impact is meet yourself where you are and literally allow yourself to start from there and keep going forward. You don't always have to restart from day one or way back here or way back when. And because I think that's what stops us from jumping back on to get back on the balance beam is we know how much work it's going to take. It's not going to take as much work as you think it is. It's just going to take the effort of us getting back on going, okay, but it's just quicker and more fast. And so, yes, 2 weeks seemed like a long time for me, but in the grand scheme of things, it's really not that long. And at the end of the day, I had a lovely time, and it was nice to get perspective. But again, what I would do differently for myself next time is I still wouldn't even give as much as myself away as I did this time. It's a learning thing. Do I regret it? No. Am I happy that I became aware of it? Yes.
So we don't beat ourselves up if we fall off our balance beam for a minute. We just pick ourselves up, get back on it.
Get right back on.
And the more I've found that I practice it, the easier it gets. It gets easier when those moments happen. I'm not saying that I've mastered it by any means, but it does get easier. And I look forward
and stop justifying it. Or stop justifying why you fell off of it. Stop justifying why you need to get back on. Just do it.
Well, what does that mean, Coach Dena? Because I do find that it happens more than not around that monthly time for me.
Oh, yeah. But that's
those
not
hormones
your
are a bitch. They're
right.
Bitch.
Right. Yes. So I haven't had that period the everything in a while. So God. I forget sometimes. So again, you be kind to yourself. You work out. If you want, give yourself some chocolate mousse. You know, and then just be like, better tomorrow. Stay clear of other people.
The chocolate mousse is oxytocin. It is like, woo,
Yes.
I feel better. It's dopamine.
Yes.
It's good.
Totally. Mm-hmm.
Anyway,
Yay.
well, it's so nice to see you again. And thank
Nice
y'all all
to see
so
you
much for
too.
being here every week. Please like and subscribe.
Yes,
I know a lot of
please.
y'all are listening and you're not subscribed yet, so please subscribe. I know it's annoying to hear me say that, but it does help us so much. We appreciate you so much. Thank you for being here.
Thank you.
Yes.
Yay.
We'll see you
Let's
next
see what
time.
we're going to wear next time.
Bye, y'all.
Bye. Y'all.
Join us here each week as we unpack life in the new normal with a new hashtag Subtle Change Profound Impact from Coach Dena. To get a little daily inspirational message in your social feed, follow us on YouTube Shorts, Instagram, TikTok, and Facebook. Copyright 2020 Angel Baby Films, all rights reserved. For entertainment purposes only.